What is up, guys? What's up, guys? Welcome. Crip No Fud. And let's jump right into this, guys. Welcome. Took a few days off. Market was very boring, but it looks like we're back here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. Looks like we're having a great day in the market. Let's cover some stuff. Obviously, we know why we are moving. If you don't, we are going to cover it. Cover a couple other bullish stuff going on and just our typical, getting ready for this massive blow off top that we're going to be seeing most likely in these next, maybe I'd say couple months, few weeks, couple months. Let's do this, guys. So welcome. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Right now, Bitcoin sitting a little bit above 114,000 as of now. Nice little move towards the upside. Ethereum, also nice little move. We're back above 4,400. We have some key spots that we definitely need to come back up to retest. Obviously, for Ethereum, is going to be that 4,500. I've been saying this for the last 2 weeks as we've been moving. We're not out of the woods yet as far as really breaking out, but today is a good day, seeing that Ethereum's up 2.5%, Bitcoin 2.3% across the market. We're seeing some big movers today. But again, back to Ethereum, you can see, we've been kind of in this area since the end of August. So it's going on technically about 2 weeks that we've been kind of in this channel for Ethereum, particularly, where I would say the bottom was somewhere, even though we broke below, but somewhere around that 4280. And then obviously the top, we've come up multiple times to come up to retest or come near that 4500, but we have not broke above the 4500 level yet for Ethereum. When we do see that 4500 breakout and we get confirmation, maybe finding some support above that 4500, this is on the 1 hour, that's going to be your indication that Ethereum is ready to pop and most likely start breaking towards new all-time highs. But so as of now, we're not there yet, but it is good to see that we're seeing some movement in the markets for today. Well, what's going on, Jay? What's going on, bro? Flip, what's going on, guys? You guys, I was going to ask, you guys want to do trenches tonight? You guys want to do anything like that? Evening tonight, you guys let me know. I'm thinking about doing some kind of a members trenches stream or something tonight. So, just let me know in the chat. But just back to what I was saying. Obviously, very, very good as far as us moving up towards the upside for not only Ethereum or Bitcoin, but across the board, right? You're seeing some solid green. We have Pump that's up almost 20%. Pyth is up another 13%. MIT, which is our MNT, Mantle, up about 18%. Ondo, WIF, SPX, Fartcoin, we can go across the board. ADA's up 3% today. Looks good across the board. Fantastic news. So what is going on? Why are we seeing the markets obviously moving towards the upside? Well, let me see here. I'm sure everybody's already seen since this morning around 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we got the PPI numbers dropped out, and basically just to simplify it, PPI basically means it's the producer price index. Pretty much what it means is what are not retail, but what is the actual companies, what are they paying as far as for inflation, right? So you have the consumer, right? And then you also have, I guess you would call that retail or producers. What are they paying for their products? They obviously calculate their inflation before it moves over to us. And if you guys remember, the reason why today was such a big deal is because if you guys remember last month, 4 weeks ago, if you guys remember, we got a PPI report that came in almost 4x, 4 times higher than what they predicted, right? It scared the markets, thinking that inflation was about to go absolutely apeshit, right? But since then, nothing really has happened as far as inflation. We are getting our inflation numbers this week. That is going to be coming out this week. I believe it is going to be coming out tomorrow. We have core inflation coming out, and it looks like, as far as the numbers, it looks like inflation, for the most part, it's going to be flatlined. We do have inflation rate year over year coming out at 2.9, which is previous 2.7, so 2 ticks higher. And we have inflation rate month over month. Previous was at 0.2. It's set to be coming in forecast at 0.3. So, nothing too crazy, right? Nothing too crazy. I don't think to spook the market, but back to the PPI report. If you guys remember last month, it came in, I mean, like where we hadn't seen a jump like this in probably a very long time. Scared investors. That pretty much started the market sell-off. If you guys can remember, in the last 4 weeks, that really is what jumped off. We saw a bad day after that PPI report, and then from there on, that's been our downward move, for the last 4 weeks. So us getting this PPI report today that came out, which basically, I'll read it out, but it came out very, very low, which means inflation as far as for retail or companies, right, is basically gotten a lot weaker. So U.S. producer price fell in August, reinforcing a weaker inflation outlook just the day before major revisions showed the U.S. employment levels outstated by nearly 1 million jobs. And that what they're talking about yesterday is a revision. Basically, they whenever they put out numbers, especially unemployment numbers, they put out numbers and then they always have to revise them because they get all the actual numbers later on and they can see, oh crap, there wasn't this many jobs created. It actually was a lot less. So yesterday they basically had a big revise and it was massive, like negative 900,000 jobs, if I'm not mistaken. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the producer price index declined 0.1% on the month, below forecasts for a 0.4% increase. Core PPI also fell 0.1%, with an annual reading slowing to 2.8% from 3.4% in July. The release follows the week's data showing August non-farm payrolls added only 22,000 positions, while unemployment rose to 4.3%. A separate benchmark revision revealed that total employment had been overstated by 911,000 jobs, bringing the cumulative downward adjustment over the past year to 1.5 million jobs. So we've seen this. We actually saw this last year as well, where for whatever reason, they have to come back and kind of, tweak the numbers. Last year it was over 1 million. This year it's been over 1 million as well. Basically what this is, to sum all this up, to make it all simplified, right? I said this in the Discord earlier, just to explain it. The feds want to see a weaker labor market, right? Check. Unemployment came in higher. We're at 4.3%. And they want to see inflation coming down, right? Check, right? They got the PPI report today, and you can see on not on the consumer, but the retail side, it has come down. Tomorrow we're going to see the consumer, and it's probably going to tick up slightly. Nothing too crazy, but slightly. And this leads to, obviously, what we've been talking about, the FOMC meeting that comes out in literally a week from today. 90% of the market's calling for a 50 to a quarter, and you're seeing 10% calling for somewhere around 75 to 50 basis point reduction, right? We already talked about this. It's not about if they're going to reduce rates. It's about how much are they going to reduce rates. And you can see across the board, 100% saying that we're 100% seeing some kind of a reduction in interest rates. We just don't know how much. Most likely it's going to be a dull 25%. I don't know if the Feds are going to come out very aggressive this first round, but I am getting a lot of chatter that we are most likely going to see 3 reductions this year, meaning September that we have in a week, October, and December, which is going to be big, guys, because, with that being said, the markets are going to have reasons to run up. It always is like this, right? Where if the Feds are reducing rates, high-risk assets, high-risk investments move up, right? And vice versa. If Feds are increasing rates, we saw this 2 years ago, 3 years ago during COVID and all that stuff after COVID. The markets were not happy when they were increasing rates, and we saw what happened, right? Increasing rates, risk on assets usually tend to fall, right? So this is nothing but good. All the numbers that have been coming out is great, and that's why we're seeing somewhat of a move towards the upside. Why have we not blasted off, though, yet? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. I think most likely is really just because we're in September, right? September tends to be not a solid month across the board, and I think that's what the reason why, right now we have a lot of money sitting on the sides. And I said this last week. I said this exact same thing last week. This is why I took a few days off, because nothing really has changed in the markets. Especially, you go back just a few days ago, we were like, just stick a fork in my eye. Nothing was going on. Bitcoin was just sitting at the same price. So it was like, why am I going to come out, and say the same thing over and over and over, right? Today is a good day, and I'm going to repeat what I said last week. Most likely what's happening is you have a lot of money sitting on the sidelines right now, right? Because it's September. September is always a bad month. So you had a lot of people front run this in August, right? And you can see August closed almost 6.5% in the red. Now we're in the green. We're up 5%. I think we're slowly starting to see that money coming back, especially with with the FOMC meeting coming out next week, with today's numbers coming out as well. You're starting to see, oh, maybe September isn't going to be a bad month, right? And I think that's what we're seeing, and we're going to start seeing more and more money coming back that we lost in August. And then from there on, I really do believe that October and November particularly are going to be probably, and this is just, anything can change, but I do think that October and November, the way things are setting up, is that we're probably going to see a massive, massive move coming in October and November and maybe in December, potentially in December, right? We know that the last 3 months of the year, especially when it's a bull market, we get some good movement coming in, especially October and November. So I think that's what's coming, especially with the big reset that we've had in the market, where we've kind of just been sitting around, not really doing much, especially in these last few days. It's been just, like I said, so boring in the market. But you know what I've been doing? Still adding to my bags, especially, on some of these meme coins and some of these alts that have been just down like crazy. Been slowly but surely just adding and adding to my bag. So you can see, obviously, like I said, Bitcoin went up to about 114.3 right now. We're coming back to retest some certain levels. This is a big spot for some support, hopefully around that 113, we'll call it 113.8, around there. If this does break below, most likely we're going to see a little bit of a retrace, because my dog's making a bunch of noise behind me. We're probably going to see a big retrace in the market, probably just because we have core inflation coming out tonight or tomorrow morning, right? So the markets are going to be spooked out, just because it's uncertainty of what's going to happen, so we'll probably see a little bit of a retrace. Maybe Bitcoin comes back down to like 112.7 right here, or maybe we come back down to like 112,000 even, somewhere around there before the numbers come out tomorrow, and we most likely see what we've seen today, unless numbers come out hotter than expected. If we do get some inflation, if we do get some inflation numbers that are higher, then we want to see, the markets will take a crap, most likely. So just bear with us. So some big news: Solana Toncoin Remix. Which of these predicted by top crypto experts to rise over 30x by January? So let's see here. So Solana news: NASDAQ listing fuels bullish momentum. Solana is currently trading above $218. Is that so? Damn, Solana's running. Holy crap, $223 for Solana right now. That's awesome. Let's see here. So where are we at? So Solana is currently trading above 218. The surge comes after Forward Industries, Ford, revealed plans to raise $1.65 billion to build a Solana-focused digital asset treasury. In the latest Solana news, the network generated a staggering $1.25 billion in revenue so far this year. This dominance has fueled excitement ahead of the launch of the first Solana digital asset treasury, DAT, which will be listed on NASDAQ this week. Technical charts show a bullish breakout. If buyers push the price above 220, Solana could reach 230 or higher. However, if it falls below 189, a period of consolidation could follow. With strong catalysts and institutional backing, September may be a defining month for Solana's trajectory. So this is big. Again, and what's crazy is we haven't heard any more news about this, but I'm not surprised next month should have the ETFs. I believe we're going to be getting news as far as if the ETFs are going to be getting accepted as far as for Solana, and I believe XRP and maybe a few other projects. So with that being said, we could see Solana breaking out. We could see Solana breaking up to $300 in the next couple weeks potentially. Toncoin updates. Strategic collaboration sparks optimism. So Toncoin is making headlines, trading around $3.12, while analysts speculate on a massive move ahead. The Open Network hinted at a strategic partnership with one of the world's most trusted platforms. Recent Toncoin updates suggest that if bulls break through resistance of $3.40, $3.45, Ton could rally towards $3.75 and possibly target $4.20 or $4.68 in the coming weeks. However, analysts warn of strong sell walls if the token fails to hold above $3. It may retest support levels. You know what's crazy is you haven't really, me personally, haven't really heard much about Ton since I believe. Hold on a second, Lexi, get out. Go. God damn. Sorry, my dog's like making all this noise behind me. I haven't heard Ton or like anything big about Ton since what was that, the Telegram or something like that. If you guys remember, it was like, what was it, like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, that the CEO got arrested and all that stuff, and he was like linked to Ton. I haven't really seen anything since then on Ton. So we'll see. So new iPhone 17. You guys see this new iPhone 17 is about to drop in the next few weeks, or I think in the next like week or two. Nearly 50% cheaper in Bitcoin and Ethereum after price surge. So Apple's latest flagship, the iPhone 17, has become nearly 50% cheaper when priced in Bitcoin and Ethereum compared to last year's model, according to the new report from CoinGecko. So just want to point this out because I think this is really cool. And they're just using iPhone, right, because it's very popular. But you could use this pretty much for anything, right? So if you go back to iPhone 4, right, look how much Bitcoin it costs to buy an iPhone. 162.25 Bitcoin at the time to buy the iPhone 4S, right? Isn't that crazy? And you go back, or I'm sorry, you move forward and you look now, iPhone 17, it's 0.007 Bitcoin to get an iPhone 17. What does this mean? Basically what this means is that Bitcoin keeps increasing in value while the dollar, actually your dollar power, right, is decreasing. I know it's like sometimes it's kind of hard to comprehend what this actually means, right? But if you think about this, Bitcoin, 162 Bitcoin to get a freaking phone back whenever this was, probably 10, 11, 12 years ago, right? Now it's literally a fraction of a Bitcoin to get a freaking, $1,200 phone. But if you were using dollars right now, it'd be completely different, right? Because back on the iPhone, you would use, how do I compare this, right? Bitcoin's value has increased so much, right? I don't know how much the phones were in dollars, right? But I'm sure they were probably at the time like $500, right? So you would spend $500 12 years ago to get the iPhone 4. Nowadays, you're spending $1,200 to get basically that same item, right? You're spending more money to get the same item. But with Bitcoin, you're literally using 100 times less Bitcoin to get the same item from just 10 years ago. Does that make sense? How much the value of Bitcoin has increased and how much buying power our dollar has decreased, right? I just wanted to point that out because something like this is right here. This is what they always tell you when they say Bitcoin, even crypto as a whole, is a hedge against inflation. When you're looking at it in dollars, you're like, no, it's not, yeah, it's gone up, but you're still trading it back into dollars. Yeah, but if you think about it, if you're looking at Bitcoin as a whole, Bitcoin's value, its buying power has increased tenfold, hundredfold compared to what the dollar can buy you 10 years ago and what it can buy you now, right? Does that make any sense? So it just shows you, honestly, particularly for Bitcoin and a lot of these, I think these, not like meme coins particularly, but some of these assets that are long-term like Bitcoin, Ethereum, I even think like Solana, and there are projects that I believe long-term are going to do really well that have use case scenarios like Zbeck, right? And we can go down a lot of different projects that, like Chainlink and, stuff like that I think are going to be around a lot because they have such use cases for like the real world. So I think their value, when you look at it in 10 years from now, are going to increase, right? Maybe if you're looking at it short term in the last year, they've decreased, right? But we're looking long term, right? We're not looking just in a few months or the last year. We're looking long term. And you can see basically certain cryptos, particularly Bitcoin and Ethereum, have been such a big hedge against that deflation of the dollar. So, all right, Flip, I'll see you later, brother. So I thought that was pretty cool right there. Just shows you the power of hodling. Really. It really does. A couple things I wanted to point out. So in the last 7 days, guys, top 100 projects, look at MYX Finance, up 1,300%. That's insane. WorldCoin up 108%. Memecore 100%. Pump.funds up 45%. Mantle 32%. Absolutely crazy numbers right here. I mean, things are looking good. The market cap, our all-time highs at 4.2% or 4.2 trillion. We're sitting somewhere around right under that $4 trillion mark, guys. So we're not far from hitting all-time highs for the whole crypto space, right? Let's look at Bitcoin dominance real quick. And you can see dominance is still hanging down. You can see dominance is still hanging down, fairly down right now, sitting at around 58.23%. So, I mean, we haven't seen dominance like start cratering again like we kind of saw in these moves. It's been kind of stagnant. That's why you're seeing most of the alts kind of sitting around in place. Yes, they are up slightly today, but we haven't seen any massive breakouts across the whole board. As we see another big drop, which I'm sure is going to be coming eventually here soon for Bitcoin dominance, we start getting down into these mid 50s. That's when you're going to start seeing some big moves with your alts. Solana probably will be breaking 300. Ethereum probably will be breaking 5,000, right? XRP will probably be somewhere around $4 at that time when we start getting into these mid 50s and lower for Bitcoin dominance. Bill, what's going on, bro? Bill said, what did I miss? I will say, bro, you can always scroll back right after we're finished. We're not going to be here for that long, so you could always scroll back and kind of just find out what you missed. Nothing too crazy, but we did cover why the market's running today and stuff like that. One thing that I wanted to cover real quick with you guys. Let me see, make sure this isn't on. All right, we're good. Turn this volume down.
If the Fed says they're data dependent and the data,
so just a little context. So Bassett,
and the data,
Bassett, this was as of earlier, I think, or yesterday. Bassett basically saying makeup cuts are needed, right? And let's just listen to this. Is only a minute long.
If the Fed says they're data dependent and the data has been atrocious, then it seems like there's probably some makeup cuts in order here, or the size of this month's cut needs to be recalibrated. And sure, it could be fixed. Anything can be fixed. You just have to first, we had to establish that it was broken, which President Trump did. Now we have to go about fixing it. And it wasn't working well before that.
So basically what he's saying, just to sum it up, is he's saying that basically the Feds, what should happen and what could happen is that the Feds actually, because we're so behind on reducing rates, that we could see some aggressive reduction in rates. I still do think that this week coming up, we're probably going to see that 0.25%. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this year we see it, we only have 2 more meetings after this one. We see that 50, maybe even that 75 basis point reduction in interest rates as we start jumping down. I think they're saying that we should be at least 200 basis points below where we're at right now. So that's big. That's big right there. And if it is going to be like that, guys, that could be setting the market up for some kind of a super cycle where we could be breaking past our 4-year cycles. So a lot of confusion out there as far as like where we're going to actually top out, when we're going to top out. But you know what? If the markets want to extend and go into 2026, I'm all here for it. Bill said today is the first move for AVAX since NAM. Oh yeah. Since Nam. I wanted to extend this because you can see this was a support level, right? This trend. And you can see as you guys right now, you guys actually have come up and this has been resistance as of now. So right now, Bill, you can see AVAX, you're basically retesting this which was support, now it is resistance. If you guys can break above this trend right here and find some support, as soon as that happens, Bill, I guarantee you guys are you haven't even seen a breakout yet, right? You're gonna see some moves like this where you see a massive breakout on AVAX most likely, but it's gonna need to find support above this trend right here. So you have the trend, which is technically where you're at right now, somewhere around that $28, $29, but you also have the 786 fib right here around $31, $32 as well. That might play as some kind of resistance. So you're going to need to break above, or when you see finally this thing break above, find some support above that, we'll just call it the 29. You're going to probably see it start to retest the 786. This might be some resistance, so it might come up and trade at a very fine, kind of area where you see us break above right here, and then it's maybe just hitting its head as it has support, right? And then at some point you see some kind of a breakout for AVAX as soon as it keeps that support on the support on this I'm like brain dead today. Above this support line right here, but you're also the 786. Once you find that support above the 786 is when you're probably going to see a nice little breakout. So things look good. Things look good right now, guys. I mean, across the board, in my opinion, today's just a green day, but it's nothing crazy, right? It's nothing. We're not really breaking out like, oh my God, like other than maybe a few other projects that have had some solid movement this week. This is just, a nice little move towards the upside today. We still have to break some solid numbers for us to really, really get into it, in my opinion. So, I mean, we'll take it. We'll take the movement for today. But, I'm not going to get, too excited yet until we can finally break some solid numbers. So, let me see here. I wanted to look at this liquidation here. Yeah, you can see where we came up and hit our head. We have a lot of liquidity. Literally exactly right there at around that 114.2, 114.3 area. This is on the 3-day. So I'm sure there's people, not necessarily ready for us to run up yet. We do look like we'll have some support somewhere around 112.9 if we do break down. So, like I said, solid day. We'll take it. We'll take it for today. I think what we have in front of us, guys, as far as in the next 8 weeks, 12 weeks, a lot of people are going to be making a lot of money. Mask is running nice. Where's Zbeck at? Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, guys. Well, listen, that's pretty much it today. I know, only 30 minutes. Nothing too crazy. We are probably going to have a members-only stream tonight. We're going to be jumping into the trenches. We'll do some trading live as far as buying meme coins and shit like that. So if you guys are interested, hit that join button. Other than that, have a fantastic day. Be happy we're in the green. Like I said, don't get too overly excited, but understand what we have in front of us for the next, these next few weeks. I think we're going to start seeing some big pivoting towards the upside, really setting us up for a solid end of the year, guys. So with that being said, thank you guys so much. Have a fantastic Wednesday, and I'll see each and every one of you guys later on, or I'll see you guys tomorrow, all right? Thank you.